Hi guys, and welcome back to Reed's Readers with your host, Clinton Reed. And today I've got an exciting tag to do with you guys. Julie at Page and Pins created this tag, and I just found it so fascinating. I watched it this morning, and I definitely had to come home and do this. I'm in my pajamas, which, by the way, we got to talk about these pajamas. They're unicorn dinosaurs. Can we talk about some unicorn dinosaurs for a moment? Sorry, back to the tag. She created what she called Who Would Write It Better tag. Now, I came up with some scenarios, and I put them in this little wine glass, like all these little bitty little pieces of papers of scenarios. And then over here, I put in a bunch of author names, and, I'm going to pull about, let's just see how this goes, okay? And I'll see how many I pull out, and I'm going to pull out 2 authors, and I'm going to tell you who I think would write that scenario, that trope, that whatever I wrote down, which, by the way, don't make fun of me. I just came up with these off my head like 5 minutes ago. Some of them sounded interesting, some type of storylines that I would follow. Some are very vague, which I thought was really good for some of the authors that I threw in here, which, by the way, I just looked around at all the authors that I have on my shelf that I have read. I have a lot of books on my shelf that I have not read yet because I'm stocking up and I'm planning on doing some reading when I can't afford books anymore. Thank you. Now, let's get into this tag and see what interesting scenarios we can come up with. Not really shaking it up. Let's just grab... Ooh. They're a little sticky because they're sticky notes. I should totally have. Okay, the scenario we have is, well, this one's going to be interesting. An epic fantasy story with a female ninja as the lead. I've been really wanting to, get into more of, ninjas, assassins kind of thing. I have Thrown a Glass up there, which I'm eventually going to get to. Listen. Now let's see who we have here. We'll go with these 2. Maggie Stiefvater, who wrote The Raven Cycle, and a whole lot of others. And Sarah J. Maas, which wrote Thrown a Glass. Who wrote Thrown a Glass and the Court of Thorns and Roses series. Now, because she wrote an assassin story, which I have not read yet, I'm going to have to give it to Sarah J. Maas. Would be perfect to do an epic fantasy story with a female ninja lead. No offense, Maggie Stiefvater, all I've read so far by you is the first Raven Cycle book, and I kind of get more magical realism hints for your kind of stories when I've read the synopsises, maybe except for Scorpio Races, but more of theirs is based in our world, so I'm going to have to give it to Sarah J. Maas. I love me some Sarah J. Maas. The Court of Thorns and Roses is my shit. If you have not read it, read it. Read it. So yeah, Sarah J. Maas would totally pull out a kick-ass epic fantasy story with a female ninja as the lead. Sarah J. Maas, write that, please. Okay. Our next scenario. Sorry, Mackie. Is a middle grade adventure with a talking animal main character. You know, like all those books like Hank the Cowdog. Like, there's tons of middle grade tropes totally about just kick-ass talking animals. Well, who doesn't love a middle grade book with a talking animal? That was totally my middle school days. We'll go with these two. Suzanne Collins, which wrote The Hunger Games, and Laini Taylor, daughter of Smoke and Bone, and Strange the Dreamer. Both deal with some very dark issue. I'm probably going to go with Laini Taylor on this. Excuse me. Only because there's moments in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, which is the only one I've read so far. I have Strange the Dreamer, but I gotta finish Daughter of Smoke and Bone. There's moments in there I was cracking up and laughing, and I feel like she could dumb it down. Well, not quite dumb it down, but dial it back, the epic fantasy, to fit a middle grade, and she would have a kick-ass talking animal. It's bad for some reason the inner Hufflepuff in me really wants to see a talking badger outside of Narnia. And I'm sorry, Suzanne Collins' books are totally about children being pit together, to kill each other. I've never read anything else by Suzanne Collins. No, actually, I have. Hold on. Sorry, Laini Taylor. I'm actually going to give it to Suzanne Collins here instead. Because she wrote that Gregory... can't remember the name of the middle grade series that I loved because I'm a huge Hunger Games fan. I had to check it out. I can't think of the name of the series now. But yeah, sorry, Laini Taylor. It totally slipped my mind that Suzanne Collins wrote that. But yeah, Suzanne Collins has done middle grade. She does really good with middle grade. I will give it to Suzanne Collins because Laini Taylor's more for an adult kind of audience. So yeah, I'm actually going to switch my answer on that one. That was interesting. Let's get the next scenario. I'm going to take this one. A coming-of-age story with a dark magic twist. I'll take you, and I will take you. Okay, I pulled out KJ Applegate. She wrote the Animorphs series, which I've been needing to get. And Lois Lowry, The Giver. A coming-of-age story with a dark magic twist. Both have done coming-of-age stories. But you know, I would love to see her branch more into a YA kind of story with a coming of age, with some dark magic haunting the kids kind of story. So, you know, I think I'll give it to K.A. Applegate. I think she could make a very interesting coming of age story with a dark twist. No offense, Lois Lowry, but I think hers would be a little bit more entertaining because Lois Lowry does more of the coming of age, important kind of clicking you in the head kind of thing. So yeah, that would be a very interesting story. Okay, Applegate, you want to reach out and come back to the YA genre and get out of some of that middle grade? Girl, be fun. You know you want to. Sorry, Lois. Oh. I'm just gonna pull the jar. We are going to do... Okay, came up with this one just because for some reason it popped in my head. And that is a lesbian mermaid tale, but it had lesbian mermaid story with just a lesbian mermaid tale with like a dark kind of undertone. Kind of like the Sirens book that just came out. But I don't know. Thought it'd be interesting to read about some lesbian mermaids. Let's see who's going to be writing this lesbian mermaid fantasy. We'll go with these two. Hope I chose some good ones. John Grisham, who wrote all the books that belong to my grandfather, which are down bottom shelf, which are all kind of lawyer-esque books. And Nora Roberts, who wrote a lot of fantasy, a lot of romantic stories. So, out of these two, I generally don't think John Grisham can write a lesbian mermaid dark tale. Like, a lesbian mermaid love story with a dark undertone. So I'll have to give it to Nora Roberts, who has written a lot of fantasy-esque stories. Like, there's the Dark Witch kind of series, which I'm kind of interested in. There's a lot of kind of books of hers that I've read or have been interested in. Like, I want to read the full J.D. Robbs series that she wrote, underneath the name J.D. Robbs. The Naked and Death series, which has kind of got a sci-fi element. So it'd be really interesting for her to take on a lesbian mermaid story with a dark undertone. That would be interesting. I didn't think I was going to get these kind of... I didn't think I was going to get these authors with these dynamics. Huh. This is interesting. Moving along to the next. We'll just do this one. A story with a bad boy vampire love trope. As we all know, we love our bad boy vampires. So, see who's going to be writing about vampires. And let's hope we don't get stuff in there. I don't remember if I put her in here or not. Kind of over the sparkling windows. We have Libba Bray, who wrote the Diviner series, which my book's way over there, which I am currently reading, which is about 1920 psychics. And Holly Black, the Queen of Fairies, who wrote, which is right here, the Tithe, on very, whatever. You know, as much as I want to give it to Libba Bray, but Libba Bray, her writing style to me is a lot more dense and deserves the time to come up with the stuff, kind of like Laini Taylor to me. So, I know she writes about fairies, but it would be an interesting twist for a fairy story to add a bad boy vampire to it. Holly Black, if you're listening, throw in a vampire in a new fairy story. That'd be kind of interesting. Sorry, Libba. Next, we have a dystopian novel. The very unique dark twist / all the main characters die. We've already done Suzanne Collins. We'll do you and we'll do you. Shay Earnshaw, who wrote Wicked Deep. Oh, I have 2 in my hands. I did not realize that. And Stephanie Garber, who wrote Caraval. Shay would go there with the emotions. Caraval, Stephanie Garber would fuck with your head. I'm actually going to give this, no offense, Shay, I'm going to give it to Stephanie Garber. Even though I've only read Caraval by her, I feel like if she was given the topic of dystopian novel with a unique dark twist, or all the main characters die, I feel like she would fuck with your head. She would kill all the main characters, but then they would come back with some type of weird magical twist. Or, not quite magical, but some weird scientific kind of explanation. Huh. Stephanie Garber, get on that. Because that actually would be entertaining. Because you would fuck with my head. Oh, God. Just thinking of that would fuck with my head. Moving along. A horror novel with a twist. A horror novel where the villain's an evil witch. Don't get a lot of those these days. We'll go with the 2 that are stuck to my hand. Becky Albertalli or Tamora Pierce. Becky Albertalli wrote Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, Leon the Offbeat, Upside of the Unrequited, all funny, joking, happy-go-lucky, serious reads. Tamora Pierce gives you the Emmeline series with the Circle Open, Circle Magic, Circle Forged. Then you've got your Lioness Quartet, and all the books that she writes for middle grade YA. I'll give it to Tamora because Tamora does more of a fantasy element, and I think some of her stories have that dark undertone that if she really pushed it, I think she could come up with something really, really entertaining. Just don't think Becky would go there enough like I think Tamora would. Not saying, even though I would prefer Becky's writing style, but I feel like Tamora storytelling would get a little bit darker. That one was a hard one. Okay. A ghost story starring a demonic possessed nun. We have Christopher Pike, who wrote the Thirst series, and the only one that I've read by him, which I loved, which I stole from my mother a long time ago, is Spellbound, a horror novel kinda about a creature. Or James Patterson. By default, I'm gonna go with Christopher Pike. I love James Patterson, and he would certainly go there. But I feel like Christopher Pike has the horror genre on lockdown, if that makes sense. That would kind of be entertaining. We've done how many so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just do 10 of them. We'll do 2 more of these. A simple YA romance, but with a twist where one dies and comes back to life. Ooh. Ooh. Kind of like a Warm Bodies kind of thing. Go with you, and we will go with you. Adriana Mather, who wrote one of my all-time favorite series, How to Hang a Witch, or L.S. Smith, who wrote one of my other favorite series, the Secret Circle series, or Vampire Diaries. This is tough, because I feel like both would be really good with this. Because Adriana has that undertone of darkness, and so does L.J. Smith. A simple YA romance, but with a twist where one dies and comes back to life. I feel like with the 2 options I have, not bias or anything, I'm going to have to give it to Adriana Mather here. I hate to say it by default on this category, because I feel like Adriana would be more likely to come up with a simple romance with a twist like that. That would surprise everyone. Unlike L.J. Smith, where the twist really wouldn't surprise us because we would expect it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to give this to Adriana Mather. Hey, Adriana girl, be friends. This would be an interesting story. Come up with something. I think we would love it. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll do one more. Let's hope we get a good one. I'm pretty sure I did some lame ones in this. Let's go with a historical fiction with a paranormal twist. Kind of like The Divinas has, like, it's based in 1920s, but there's a bunch of psychics. Or you could do it with vampires, werewolves, unicorns, zombies, Pride and Prejudice and zombies, you know? Let's do these 2 people because they're stuck in my hands. Well, this will be interesting. We have Patricia Briggs, who wrote the Mercy Thompson series, the Alpha and Omega series. There's a series with dragons, witches. Basically, she prefers her werewolves, which she's got the paranormal on lockdown. But then on the other side, we have J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter. Now, the only author I have ever put above J.K. Rowling in my heart is Adriana. And people know why. But a historical fiction with a paranormal twist. J.K. Rowling's got the witchcraft, which is a paranormal twist, on lockdown. While Patricia Briggs has werewolves and dragon shapeshifters and witchcraft and vampires and all that on lockdown too. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I'm sorry, J.K. Rowling. I'm gonna have to give it to Patricia Briggs. She does that paranormal like you want it. Like you crave it. Like seriously. Now that was a really interesting tag where I ended up with 10 really interesting like dynamics. Like seriously, Adriana, get on this. Patricia, Stephanie Garber, get on that dystopian novel. Hello. Some of these weren't the best, but some of these were just so amazing. So, thank you, Julie, for making such a wonderful tag. I will tag her original video down below. If you haven't checked out Julie at Pages and Pins, you should check her out because she's amazing. She was one of the ones that kind of inspired me to want to do my own channel. So, that's all I've got for you today on this tag. Tell me who you guys would think would write better on some of these options. Or give me an option and give me 2 authors down below. And we'll see what I think about your options. Which could be entertaining. So, until next time, guys, remember, reading is what's fundamental. Bye.